Hey, this is Professor Homa. Welcome to EX8 form table, and it's basically using the same form we used for EX7, except we're going to use it by creating a table for the layout. So what you're going to have to do is download an EX8 folder. I have one started for you. So you're going to go to CyberDuck or whatever you're using for your FTP. You're going to log in. So I'm going to log into my sample here just to review the steps. And I'll put in my password. And then I'll be able to see my directory, and there it is, and there's an EX8 in there right now, and that's the one you're going to copy down. So I'm just going to copy that down to my folder on my hard drive, which is here. There's no EX8 there right now. EX7 was the last one I did. So I'm going to drag in EX8, and I'll just drag it right there and copy it down, and it may ask you to log in again, which I'll do. And in CyberDuck, it'll show you that it downloaded, has an arrow pointing down, download complete, and that's all you need to do. And you could disconnect from CyberDuck, and you could close out of CyberDuck once you download that folder. And let me just show you what's in that folder. There's a contact PHP, which I'll go over. That's going to help us process the form, which we didn't process the form last time. There's a CSS file, which does a little bit of the formatting for the table, and our index page. You're going to have most of the index or the HTML done already, so you don't have a whole lot to do. You're just going to have to add some table elements to this, which will be a little time consuming, but you'll get the idea of how a table works. So what I'm going to do is go back to brackets. After I have this downloaded, I'm going to go back to brackets. I'm going to use the open folder in brackets so that I could work in that folder. I'm going to do open folder, and I'm going to go find that folder. And here's my folder, and I'm going to actually go all the way to the EX8 folder and kind of define that folder or open that folder. So I'm just working with that folder, and I'll hit OK. And there you'll see I'll have the three files here. Here's contact PHP, which will do just a little bit with contact PHP. Here's EX8 CSS, we'll do a little bit with that. And here's index HTML, which will basically convert into a table. Last time we used CSS, but we're going to try using a table this time. And what I'm going to do with this one, the first thing I'm going to do is go right in here to the form name part, and I'm going to put in two attributes. I'm going to put in method, and you can see method will probably come up. And you either have a choice of get or post, and I'm going to use post. And then the next thing I'll put in is action. This is actually, and I'll select action here. And then in quotes, I'm going to choose contact PHP. So it's not coming up yet, but I'm going to just type in contact PHP, and I'm going to use one that's right in my directory, so I don't need any. I could use a main PHP file that I have like in a main directory, but for now I'll just use one that's in the same folder, that EX8 folder. So that's all I need. So that's linking basically to that file right there, and that's it. So we're linking to our external CSS, and here we're linking to an external PHP file, which is actually going to process our form, and we'll deal more with that after we get our layout set up. Okay, after you put in the method equals post and contact PHP, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to basically put in some table tags. So I divided this up so it's a little easier to work with. So I'm just going to type in table, and it'll make a closing table tag right away, and I'm going to want to copy that, or cut it and drag it to the bottom. And if it doesn't go to the bottom, I'll put it close to the bottom and just scroll back and grab it and put it right about there. So I'm putting it at the bottom of everything, even if you want to put a little space between it. So that way you have an opening table tag and a closing table tag. And I'm going to separate this a little bit. That kind of starts the table. And you don't necessarily need a table name for that, although you can use one. So now it's in a table, but we didn't put any of the parts in the table yet. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to put each space up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a TR tag, and this will be the table row, because remember the label and the input field is going to be in the same row, if you remember seeing the sample for that. And I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to put this here, and this is going to actually replace the break, the line break. We don't need a line break here. So it's going to start off with a TR, close with a TR, and then we're going to have to put TDs on either side of these. Now I'm just going to save this, and I'll take a look at it and see what I have going on so far. and see what it looks like in our browser. Now this is what it looks like so far. Now I do have styling in there for the form, so that's where it has the blue background, it has the rounded corner, just like last time. So it has the same form styles as the as we used in EX7. But for now we don't really have the table set up, so we got to figure out our table here. So we have a lot more work to do here. And what I'm going to do in front of these is I'm going to put a TD. And each time I do that, you can see it's going to put, and I'll do them for these 2 rows, it puts a closing one. So, you know, if you have this updated where you can drag and drop these things, that would make life a little easier rather than just cutting and pasting if you can drag and drop these. But once you do this, every single element, every single label and input field is going to be set up like this, so that you basically have a row, and then you have a cell, and then a cell. Each TD is a cell, each TR is a row, and basically it's going to repeat for each section going down there. And you just have to make sure it comes out okay. So I'm going to save that and take a look at it again, see what it looks like so far. I'll refresh that. And I'm not seeing too much so far, although it is putting it side by side. So we're going to have to, we only have one set up so far, so we're going to have to do some more. Maybe when we do another one, we'll see what it looks like. So again, well, I'm going to copy this, and I'll put this in front of this one, and then I can copy this one, and I'll paste it over the break, paste it right over it, get rid of the line break, and then I need my TDs. So I'm just going to copy and paste these things. It's kind of repetitive, and I won't show every time I do this because you don't want to watch me copying and pasting, but just to make sure that I have my opening and closing ones, that each section is basically going to look the same once you get it set up. And you could put division, you know, you could put an extra return in here if you want to see it a little bit better. You could even indent these if that helps a little too, so that your cells are kind of indented. That may help it a little bit more. So that you can see this is a row, these are cells. This is a row, these are cells. And each one has an opening closing TD. So if I go and check it, I'll save it and check it again. And there, it's kind of getting started off. Although it's putting first name, because I don't have the table finished yet, it's actually putting first name and last name at the top. It's kind of working its way down. So since we don't have the table built yet, it's actually doing this part first. But as we go down, each part's going to get added to it, and everything will go underneath it. So it looks a little odd to start, but these are actually the way they should look. First name and last name, that's the way they should look so far. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm not going to record all this. I'm just going to put all my tags in as I go down. And just remember, for this label one, you're only going to put it before the TD before label, and then the TD after select, and then the TRs will be the same place. So you just, even though this isn't a label and an input, we're going to treat this as one section just like the others. So I'm going to go through and finish up these tags. Okay, just to give you an update on what I've done, I have all my TR, my beginning TR and finishing TR tags done. I didn't put in my TDs yet, but in each time, here's my TR, and just make sure you have an opening and closing TR. Even down at the bottom with that final submit one, you should have an opening closing TR. And now I'm going to put in my TDs, and I'll probably indent them just like that. And what I recommend is probably just copying your TD and then just pasting all the TDs and then copying the closing TD. So I would just copy this, and then every place there's a TD, I'll just do a Command V or Control V if you're on Windows, and just pasting all your TDs. Every place you have a label, you're going to put a TD. You don't need TDs for these option values. You only need it for your label, and then you only need it for the select, because that's where the drop down is. So for this one, you're only going to have it there. You won't have it for these options, and then you'll have a TD at the end of the select, because that completes the whole part of it, I believe. I'll double check that. So I'll paste this here. And again, there's two inputs for the radios, so we don't put a TD for each one, we just put it at the end. So I'm going to put a finished one at the end, a finished TD at the end. So, and I believe this select, I think we're going to put the finished TD here at the end, I believe, but we'll double check it. Okay, so let me finish doing these. Okay, I'm done with all my TDs. I indented everything. It's just as important to make your HTML look nice, just because it's easier to find things. So You could double check here. We have my table opening and closing tags. I have TRs for my first name, TRs for my last name, TRs for street, TRs for city, TRs for state, TR for zip, TR for gender, and then finally TR for the submit part at the end. And then also your TD tags. You can see these are the indented ones. So there's an opening, closing TD for each one, for the label and for the input. For the label, for the input, for the label, for the input. This one's a little tricky because we have it for the label, but it's not clear where this would end. And I actually put it here to end after all the options. And and also the radio one, make sure that it doesn't go for each radio one. It's not going to be in a separate cell. They're all going to be in the same cell. So that's why I'm just putting the closing TD at the end of all the radio options. We just put spaces in between them, so they're all going to be on one line. And then here's my opening, closing TD, opening, closing TD, and I'm going to check it out. And I'll just refresh it here. And everything looks okay. Obviously, we have to adjust the spacing. One thing, if you weren't sure about this, if you wanted to, if I wanted to move this up here, and if I thought it went here, you could try it there. I'll save it. I'll preview it, and obviously something's wrong. You can see it doesn't know what to do with these because it doesn't really have them as part of the table. That's why they're in the front. Every time we didn't have parts in the table yet, they actually went above the table. So this isn't part of the table. So it's kind of a hint that we have to make sure that this last TD tag gets moved here after all the options. So they're all a part of it. So this whole part of that, and I think this goes after the select. Well, let's check it. Let's put it here, save it, see what happens, see if something looks screwed up. Alright, that looks okay. It looks like it'll work there. I really think, though, it should be, because we did the TD before the select, we should close it after. That would be the best thing instead of having it. So that's probably the best thing to do, so that the whole select tag is embedded inside the TD. That just seems like, even though it looks like it works okay without that, but make sure you put the closing TD after here. So everything is set up. So that's our HTML. If you did this and you did that, your HTML should be set up. Now we're just going to do some styles, and we'll finish that up, and we'll finish up the form in the next video.